What's up everybody, Johnnie Omega here, giving you my review of The Lion King. I'm pretty sure everybody watching this review already knows the story about The Lion King, but for the few people that might not know, the story is pretty simple. This is a story about a young cub who's being groomed to take over the Pride Lands from his father, but exiles himself when he gets manipulated to think that he's responsible for his father's death. This is the remake of the 1994 animated Disney classic, and just to go ahead and get it out the way, I'll go ahead and say it. That's my favorite animated movie of all time. This version uses photorealism technology to make all the animals look realistic, and if this movie does nothing else, let me tell you, this movie definitely looks realistic. So starting with what I liked about the movie, we'll just go ahead and keep with that theme of how visually stunning this movie is. Especially when you're watching it on the big screen, it's like you're watching an Animal Planet documentary. Even down to the minute things, like when the lions would talk and their ear would just flick, or when Timon and Pumbaa would talk and in the middle of them talking, they would just scratch themselves while they're talking. I mean, that's how animals act, and there's little details like that Disney didn't have to do, but it definitely added to the realisticness of the animals that you're watching. Another thing I liked for the most part was the voice acting. James Earl Jones as Mufasa is spot on, excellent casting, can't get any better than that. And as far as voice acting goes, Jeremy Irons as Scar in the original Lion King is still to this day my favorite villain in any Disney movie. I say that because Chiwetel Ejiofor had some huge shoes to fill in the role of Scar, but I do think he did a good job and I like what he did making this character his own. The three actors though I thought had the biggest potential to either steal the show or bring the movie down, fortunately, all did a good job. Billy Eichner as Timon, Seth Rogen as Pumbaa, and John Oliver as Zazu. All three characters did a great job carrying the humor of this movie practically from beginning to end. I know a lot of people probably won't agree, but I do think that these three characters are played better in this version than they were in the original. I also like that this wasn't a shot-for-shot remake. They added some new things in this movie, and for the most part, I liked it. All the songs you know and love are there, and I know I'm in the minority when it comes to this thought, but I actually like what they did with Scar's song. Before I watched this movie, I was curious how they were going to do Scar's song Be Prepared, because I do think that that's probably the hardest song to translate to live action, but I like what they did with it. But like most movies, this one wasn't without its fair share of issues. The first thing I didn't really like, to go ahead and get it out the way, is pretty much the same thing a lot of people had issues with when the first trailer came out, and that's the fact that a lot of the animals don't really have any emotions in their face. No matter if an animal was happy or sad or anywhere in between, you couldn't tell that by just looking at their face, which is a real big advantage that animation has over live action CGI. For the most part, it didn't really bother me, but it really became an issue when it came to the character of Nala. Now I know the Beehive is not going to want to hear this, but Beyonce did not do a good job in this movie. When it came to the singing, she was fine. She sang circles around everybody, but that's pretty much to be expected. Now voice acting though, that's a whole different story. She pretty much sounded like she was just standing there reading her lines. There was barely any inflection in her voice no matter what was going on screen. And even though there were some other actors that had recognizable voices, at some point while watching the movie, you start to correlate that voice with that particular character, but not with Beyonce. Every time she spoke, all you heard was Beyonce. So basically you have a character with no facial expression being voiced by an actor that doesn't sound like they're trying. Overall, that just makes for a bad performance. Another thing I didn't like was a lot of the dialogue in the third act, especially between adult Simba and adult Nala. Now this I don't blame on Beyonce, I blame it on the writers, but a lot of the dialogue that she had with Danny Glover didn't seem natural. To me it sounded rushed, as if the writers were just trying to get to the end of the movie. For instance, when Nala and Simba are fighting, Nala pins Simba, and Simba recognizes how he's being pinned and looks at her and is like, Nala? Then Nala backs up and is like, who are you? Which is a natural reaction to have to not only somebody you haven't seen since you was a kid, but also somebody you thought was dead. And then when Simba says who he is, it takes a second for Nala to realize who she's looking at before she gets excited. But in this version, they're fighting, and after Nala pins Simba, it's like, Nala, Simba, hey! Wait, what? And that's not the only part, it's just the part that stands out to me the most. So in conclusion, the voice acting by pretty much everybody was good. Out of all the things that they changed, I liked more than I didn't like. Visually, this movie is amazing, and I wouldn't be surprised if this movie wins an Oscar for effects. This movie does have some flaws, so compared to the original, it doesn't hold a candle. But to be fair, this movie is being compared to one of the best animated movies ever made, so it pretty much had an uphill battle from the start. All that being said, I'd say this movie is worth a watch. So comment below and let me know what you guys thought of the movie. And also, what's your favorite Disney animated movie of all time? Thanks for watching. If you like what you're seeing, hit the thumbs up and click that subscribe button to see what we got coming next.